We love Indy, all-around great guy, very well respected within the StarCraft community, and he's gonna duke it out with his viewer, Haluc. What are we going for here, Rotti?
Yeah, like Haluc, like hallucination, maybe Haluc. I don't know.
All right, let's go with Haluc.
You can choose.
I like Haluc.
Yeah, I like Haluc too. We have officially named him.
Take a look at the decks as we obviously enter a new best of 7. Indy's gonna kick things off with the Recallers, and he's got that gnarly combo of Mortar and Destroyer. His opponent also has Destroyers, but has Shockers, and is gonna play Blink. Or Scorpions, obviously. He can also play Scorpions, but that is not what he's going to do. He's going to be playing with the Blinky boys.
The Blink opening is quite potent. It's a little scary because you don't have a lot of anti-air options if you play ground as Haluc, right? So, you know, you're kind of very much so going to have to be careful with when you tech and what you tech into, so that third base comes down initially. We expect that from Indy, who's got the recallers. Playing that forward third base is just so good. And he's going to be moving these around and trying to catch these blinks for the early stage, just make sure they don't get anywhere too sneaky.
And you know, recallers are very strong in the straight-up fight, but they are slow, and it's always important to keep in mind that some fights may look good, but the moment you exactly make the halfway point of the map and your opponent is going to have much quicker reinforcements, you have a couple of Scorpions showing up as well. Not sure if I'm a mega big fan of that, but the Scorpions are going to be tanky, and it does allow the Blink guys to actually get a lot of big shots off. Not a bad trade, I would say, by Haluc. I think I can live with it.
There's another round of Scorpions. I just think at this point, I'm kind of with you where it's like, I almost feel like I'd rather just see more Blinks, because yes, the Blinks are a bit more fragile, but they can just deal so much more damage the more and more of them there are. So definitely an interesting one, as we see a little dive around the left-hand side, and going to force the recall over here. It's going to free up the way to actually get back out over on the right.
Indy tacking up to Mortar Destroyer, while Haluc has actually gone Star Force. We've got Falcons and airships and potentially some Valkyries way down the line.
Bringing that through as our recalls just recall back into position, and you can see those recallers starting to put some damage out onto these Scorpions again, so some extra hits coming about. Now going to be seeing the Scorpions and the Blinks continuing forward. The recall's taking a lot of damage. A few Scorpions already peeled off onto the worker line.
Recall? Yeah, I would have loved the recall towards the top right, and maybe you would have been able to get 1 or 2 more shots off. But I mean, I don't know if Indy wants to play against Falcons, though. Playing 3-base against 3-base and your opponent having Falcons, and then the only thing you can make are those Blink Hunters. I don't know if you're going to be very excited with that. We see the first few Blink Hunters already showing up. That's proper early, especially if we're worried about Falcons, because Falcons are slow.
Yep, they're going to take a long time to come across the map as the fleet of them starts, but it is a fleet of them as well. Yeah. So you're going to need to be, you need to keep these Blink Hunters alive, and that's what a couple mortars are here for as well, to help protect. However, it's the Scorpions into the natural, and whoever's been getting Scorpions freely onto naturals has generally been seeing a lot of success. Yep. So
this is
big. Only going to kill a couple workers, but still not bad.
Especially because Indy needs cash right now, right? He needs to spend all of his pennies on those Blink Hunters, and he just doesn't have enough of them at the moment. Is this another game where Falcons are just going to fly to the other side of the map? Forward, Blink there by Indy as we got the Rico as well. Maybe not a bad fight, but the Falcons are actually pretty damn tanky, and getting 1 or 2 looks exciting, but we've got extra Falcons showing up as well. I don't think this is going Indy's way. Indy thought that he could blink forward there and could Rico his army and that it was going to go his way, but the Falcons are simply too powerful, too beefy, and they deal so much damage. They may be slow, but they are so damn good against Tier 1 NTR. Do you have a favorite Tier 1 NTR against Falcon? Wardy, I'm asking for a friend.
Tier 1? I don't think it exists, man. Like, they're so freaking good. Like, they just, because they're beefy, so yes, they're slow, but oftentimes, like, you end up in the situation where, like, I guess the idea is you're meant to be able to attack around them, but they just don't care. They will just move across the map, and they will just win out. Because whatever you can kind of try and counterattack with and move around with just doesn't do as well as the Falcons do once the Falcons are on your base. So it's like, it's kind of a rough one. I feel like the missile bots did okay against them yesterday, better than other things that we've seen at least. But I wouldn't say they did great.
What I also think is incredibly important, if you like go down the route that Indy went down, is like we're always tempted to build at least a couple of tier 2 units, right? Because like, oh, we've got tier 2 foundry, this is where we get strong units. But I really don't see the purpose in having multiple mortars or even destroyers, and I don't think Indy made too many of them, but even the 2 mortars may have just been a single mortar too many, because I really think you need to spend all your pennies on your tier 1 NTR, and if that's going to be good enough, I have no idea, but that second mortar, it just doesn't add anything.
I think there's something to be said about just the confidence of sticking with your tier 1 anti-air, because I think numbers is the answer. And if you build any sort of other tech that isn't just directly anti-air against it, like, to be fair, you know, all the money that was spent on the side of, you know, of the side of Haluc was all money that he spent going into those Falcons, right? So if that all your money's invested in those Falcons, then it kind of makes sense that, yeah, you kind of got to spend all your money on kind of answering the Falcons, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. So I'm with you on that one, but it's obviously very scary because you feel like you need a couple of mortars just to help hold the ground, and you just gotta kind of believe in your units.
We are waiting for Haluc to join, guys. We're not just sitting here theory crafting for fun. Maybe he's so excited that he thinks it's over, but that was only the first round, mate. It's the best of 7. All right, there he is. He has joined the lobby for our second game. So he takes the 1-0 lead. This also means, Waddy, that the challenges are now 5-0 over the caster aces. What is happening? Why are we so bad?
Yeah, can we get some actual? We need to go back and get some bias in the picks of the challenges, man. Turns out a neutral slate was not good for us.
We need a not so innocent hand to select these players from the Discord. It's like, wow, you're 2700. I believe you have a great future. I'll play you.
I saw some 2 to 3K players in that chat channel. Let's give them a shot. You know what I'm saying?
That's what communities are all about. All right, we have a fast expand coming out of Indy. Haluc waiting a little bit. Actually, just building a whole bunch of blink guys off. This is interesting. He's not teching. He's rushing tier 1 blink guys. Is that? Can you overrun the recallers? Is that a thing, Waddy?
Recallers, I've always felt like recallers are the most fragile super early, right? Where not just the fact that like they can pack a punch, but like if you start losing out a couple of these recalls, it can be rough. And I actually think if the Scorpions get in front and the Blinks are able to kind of just survive and just damage throughout.
I feel like Indy should not fight yet. Sorry to interrupt you there. What I think Indy should really do is wait until the absolute last second. Has Indy not checked? Does he think his opponent is stacking or anything? Indy needs to wait until the workers spawn. Only at that point I think he should ever start fighting. I don't think you have to worry too much about losing your Nexus. Alright, if he's really committing for it, now you can start battling. Indy needs to make sure that he keeps on reinforcing.
Yeah, get more units, more Scorpions showing up on the side of Haluc, but not sure that this is really doing it just yet. The recallers are doing pretty well. He got a lot of free damage off on Scorpions while they were hitting the base. That said, the base is obviously still low, so you've got to keep defending it. It looks like we're almost there. Scorpions in the front again, but the Blinkers are just so much lower HP than they've ever been before.
Yep, and they were a bit too far behind there, right? We actually lost 3 Scorpions there before the Blinkers were in range, and Haluc will wave the white flag. Indy does pull off the hold and gets the first win on the board for the caster aces. We're back, Waddy.
We're back, yes. Don't call it a comeback, it was just a minor blip.
I think either you go all out on the units, or I just think there was like a small micro error or two there on the side of Haluc twice.
I think he just took so much damage when he was targeting the base as well. I just don't think you can do that, right? Like, he put so much damage on the base, which is fine and all, but not if you're losing like 6 Scorpions to do it, because then that's your entire front line. So, cool idea, but yeah, I think you're right. My execution in micro wasn't quite there.
Yeah. I don't know if it would have gone his way otherwise, because I haven't really seen that kind of a one-base rush yet. We've always seen the one-base Wasp rush, and we've seen a few others, but I haven't really seen the one-base Blink Scorpion rush yet, but it is a thing.
Yep.
There
These
are
guys know how to be aggressive.
There are no rules today, Claire. We don't run any rules for this tournament. People can just swap units in and out throughout the entire best of 7. No rules. In the future, maybe we'll obviously start implementing rules and we will start theory crafting on what we can do, but for these best of 7 show matches, there are no rules whatsoever. The only rule is that you're not allowed to lie about your MMR when you're applying in the Discord. That's the only rule.
Oh, crap. Alright, 1-1. We're going to get a little bit more of a series on our hands as we have got in the bottom left. It is Indy, who is very much so changing up a little bit, right? He didn't have heavy hunters before, so he's got heavy hunters now.
Yeah, he had destroyers, didn't he? He had a mortar destroyer. And yeah, that's actually good because he lost that game against Falcons, obviously, and maybe Indy says like, all right, there's no need for destroyers on my side. And also, I think mortars completely does the job against destroyer shocker combo.
I look at, to be fair, I kind of like what he's done because I look at Haluc's army, look at Haluc's deck, and I'm like, well, I feel like Haluc's going to be very tentative to play ground anyway, because if he plays the ground and Indy just makes dragonflies, he just has nothing. Like, he has nothing that shoots up, right? So I feel like he's more so looking to play into the air tech anyways, so if you just kind of counter that a bit more difficult, if he does end up playing ground, I feel like Indy's going to have options anyways. We are going to play ground as Haluc, so we'll see how that works out. See if it's something Indy can abuse given time.
I wonder if we get to see an interaction between snipers and advanced blinks, because that is not one that I'm familiar with.
Not seen that one myself, gotta be honest. I can only like snipers die pretty quick, so I imagine the blinks will just get on top of them because the snipers are very slow as well, and they might get a couple shots off, but the blinks will close the distance unless the snipers are well protected, right?
Indy is adventurous with his recallers, but he's got them out in pretty large numbers, and obviously they are somewhat tanky and they pack a punch early on. So nice activity. In the end, does decide to go for the teleport home, play it safe, does not want to lose any workers early on. I would kind of like, I think, Haluc to almost go immediately tier 3 here. I feel like that is the play, because I don't think you're going to get much value out of his tier 2 combo. The destroyers and shockers, I just don't see them be very successful, so I think you fire up tier 3 almost immediately. He says, absolutely not, Rotti. I'm going to spend every single penny I have on shockers. Alright?
Shocking our way across the map as the first mortars are setting up from India, trying to establish his third base. Obviously, that investment in the third base is money not spent on tech units. That may be where Haluc gets an advantage. He did spend just a little bit more power on tech units as well. Destroyers on the way out with another shocker. So all that continues through as a few scorpions slip on over to the left-hand side. And they're going to, once again, just find the open natural. Man, the naturals have been so open yesterday and today.
Yes, I think that's something we're going to see throughout the entire history of this game. Naturals will be open. In a game where it's so easy to just grab all your units and send them to a spot, and it feels so often that you need every single unit. In the end, though, Indy does hold the third base. I was wondering if for a split second, can the shockers do a lot of damage to the base? Can the blink guys blink on top and get on top of the mortars? But none of that happened, so it will be a 3-base economy for Indy, even though he needs to wait until 6 of his workers come back in the natural.
Our recalls will take to the front then, and we have no further tech yet coming into play as Indy is going to have one mortar in the front getting taken down a little bit too on its own, but them shockers got to be careful. If they walk into mortar range, they're going to get blasted, and they are getting blasted right now. The shockers are pretty much all gone. And destroyers just need to be too close to mortars to be good as well. Yeah,
I did not like that fight by Haluc. I feel like that was never really going to go his way. Mortars are just incredibly good against his tier 2 combo. And I actually think we are in a bit of trouble. Maybe we should have gone tier 3 immediately. Maybe we could have still swapped back into air. And then also force Indy to start worrying about that. Because I just don't see Shocker Destroyer beat Mortar.
No. I just, this is not a good answer to the mortars unless the mortars are very out of position, but obviously Indy can just slow push them, and already you can see trades like this are going very well for him. Yes, he's got some scorpions on the other side, but he has a mortar there and a couple of reinforcements clean it up. And now this third base is in trouble, and you cannot really be affording to just lose your third base.
Yep.
GG.
We saw Haluc fire up air attack there, Starforge, but that's just a little bit too late. Indy strikes back and takes the 2-1 lead in his best of 7. Was in a tiny bit of trouble. I was wondering if there was a moment where maybe the blink guys could have gotten on top of the mortars when they were in very low numbers. And we also had that scorpion run by in the natural, but once we let the mortar count go up and we didn't have that next phase for Haluc, he didn't go tier 3, he didn't go air immediately. Like, if we embrace the tier 2 Foundry battle, that's always going to go to Mortar's way there. Mortars will just not lose against Destroyer and Shocker. Unless there's obviously a very bad play. But Indy is a gamer, Wardy. We've already covered that. He's not going to make too many big errors.
Nope. Indy was one of the better guys when we first started playing this as well. He was very quick to pick it up. He was absolutely in there trying out all the different units. He was the original King Crab pusher as well, so...
A long time ago, when we got a little sneak peek at Battle Aces over in Los Angeles, Indy was one of the first guys to make Artosis rage with nothing but King Crabs. And Artosis was raging with or without a camera, sitting there. He's like, stupid Indy, stupid King Crab and Joe. This is all he does. And Indy is just smiling. He's like, King Crabs are so good. That was a beautiful day over in LA.
It was a great one. King Crabs were actually very good back. They were even better than they are now. And that's still a pretty decent amount of play. So,
I mean, a lot of things have changed, right? We were able to play a tiny bit a while ago as well. And then I remember that I think butterflies were absolutely busted, man. Like, no matter how many tier 1s I had, I just got completely blasted by them. I feel like they must have changed those as well. Or I was just really bad back then. But I have the feeling that I was playing for a bit against one guy who was just playing recall into butterfly, and I could not beat it for the life of me.
Yeah. Butterfly, I'm with you. I think the butterflies were actually some of the initially stronger air units that we had.
Yeah. I mean, they still deal crazy damage, and they're great for harassment, but they die very, very quickly against basically every sort of anti-air.
Yep, they do. As we get another game coming up then. Any changes to the deck? Yes, Indy goes recall, shocker, and advanced recalls on the Starforge tech. We actually have Mammoths available now from Haluc as well, which I do not believe we had before. That's obviously, he had the Falcons before, right? So he swapped those out. Mammoths available means he's got a better option via the Starforge against Mortars.
And it feels like Danny's absolutely going to go the Starforge route. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like his tier 2 Foundry tech, even if Indy swaps out one unit, gets another one, the Mortars are still there. And I have a hard time believing it's going to look very different. Now, of course, we could try to change the tempo of the game, where we push with the shockers, and then we do have a follow-up tech immediately, and we have a plan B or even a plan C. But yeah, that plan of the third game that we just saw, that's just not going to work. Unless you YOLO blink forward when the mortar count is very low, and you close your eyes, and you just somehow hope you kill enough mortars. I like the idea of playing it different. He is going to go 3-base against Indy's 3-base. This might be a moment where Indy could justify playing 4 bases before attacking. I would not hate it.
That'd be kind of wild, but yeah, maybe that's the kind of route you can go. Of course, that's kind of where recalls can be very powerful when you can just get silly amount of bases up. They have the ability to play around and defend all of them, so you can absolutely make it work. So, possibility for sure as our Blink Scorpion army pulls back against that group of recalls.
Yep, there is a 4th base before attacking coming out of Indy. I like it. Okay, he's going to be a bit out of position, but obviously we can teleport towards the top left. Does he have enough right now? I feel like Haluc a tiny bit indecisive, and he does go the Starforge route, Rotti.
Yep, he does indeed. So I'm kind of with you because I think he's a bit afraid of the mortars. But if he goes into the Starforge, I actually really love Indy just kind of going advanced recalls. We are going to take a great fight on these recalls in a little bit of trouble, huh?
Yep, I love that defensive blink there, waiting for the Scorpions to show up, and Indy's going to have to go away for a second. Indy can always change his mind and still come back, but that is incredibly risky because if he loses another fight with the recalls, he's in so much trouble. As Haluc is also going to go up to 4 bases now in the bottom right. Indy, I don't think he's really going to be able to gun down this space. He just misses like a couple. I mean, that is serious damage, but with a forward blink or two. Actually, Indy is going to get it. Oh, man, Indy with the full send.
There's always such a feels bad when you're playing against the recalls, and it's like you kill a base that they took early, and you're like, nice, now I've got the advantage. And it's like, no, he got my base, and obviously that's so good. But actually, essentially double expanding here, so going up to 4 bases with Haluc. As you do see the tech very close to being online from Indy. Scorpion's going to hit his natural at the same time. We'll see what he builds. I'd love to just, I think, see advanced recalls. He's got so much money to spend, and he is up against mostly just the Mammoths. I think the advanced recalls will be great there, and that's exactly what he builds. Whoa. Recalls them in, and they are going to blast.
Yep, they are so good. I have sometimes a bit of trouble when I see a whole bunch of guys teleport in to figure out like how many of them are the advanced recalls, how many of them are the basics ones. Like even though they obviously look different, the advanced recalls are a little bit thinner, but when that animation goes down with the teleport, I find it sometimes a little bit hard to figure out if this is a fight I can or can absolutely not take. Indy's got a 44 supply lead, by the way, but he's going to have a hard time, I think, taking out the Mammoths, but Mammoths don't kill everything very quickly.
Yeah, I think he's actually going to be okay once he's able to just right-click them down. Like you say, it's not like the Mammoths are providing splash damage, they're just mega tanky, which is exactly what the advanced recalls just do not care about at all. As we're going to see them jumping onto and killing off this base. There goes that 3rd base, once again denied, and now actually going to start working our way down to the bottom side, and we may even be able to recall. What we're going to do, actually, he's going to dive for the natural even, so a little bit of a different approach here.
He's going to be forced to teleport home, though. I wonder if he teleports half his army. I think that Indy can teleport like half and he'll still be fine. That's exactly what he does. He might need a tiny bit more. Indy, you're going to need a little bit more than that. But he just wants to take out the natural of his opponent. He has done that. And here comes the rest of the army. Indy putting on a clinic here with the recalls and advanced recalls. Well done. Really turned this game around. And it all started with that snipe of that base in the center of the map. I thought Haluc was going to be able to save it if he would have just blinked immediately a couple of times and ran everything he had towards the center. He was a bit too late. He has tacked up to tier 2 Foundry. Indy is going to have to now battle a little bit without mortars. But even if Indy loses a base, I still think I like the game for him.
Yep. No, I think it's And it's very good for Indy. Just across the board, he's going to kill this base here. He's just got so much control now as well, right? Is what this comes down to. And yeah, these shockers are finally going to be a bit of a better answer to the advanced recalls. Going to absolutely blast through those. But that's the first fight we've really won in a while, and obviously there's a lot more to be done to drag yourself back into this one.
Yep, and Indy realizing, like, wait a minute, I'm not forced to just play ground. I have gun Starforge, I have airships. Airships may not be much, but if there are only shockers that you have to worry about, then you're going to have a good time. Now we have, I think, a little bit of, do we have tier 1 anti-air? No. The only anti-air that Haluc can make are airships himself. But playing airship against airship when your opponent has a 1-base advantage, that seems impossible. He's in so much trouble here.
Yep, no, there's almost no way his mortars gonna get jumped
Great
on
fight.
mind, and so they go down, and yeah, that's gonna be a very good fight. That's absolutely where you can succeed. As supply of Indy is still good overall, but it's the airships that just aren't gonna be answered by anything. Like, they will just be able to kind of ping away. Indy losing a little bit as natural as well, but I think overall he's gonna play cleanup. It's 2 bases against 2 bases now. Yeah, but he has air control. I think air control just goes more than anything else.
I think if you're Indy here, you make nothing but airships. And then I think you're still going to be fine. He did lose a couple of workers, I believe, in the natural. Yeah, just 3. I don't think that's quite enough to make up. Shall we count airships very quickly? Like, if I'm Indy, he made a whole bunch of recall shockers. Yeah, that's cool. But I actually think the easiest way to win this game is just by spamming pure airship. Because Haluc does not have any other anti-air.
Yep, it'd be different if Haluc had a different like tier 1 anti-air units, and like maybe if your airship doesn't do it, but like in this case, you can always just have more airships. So yeah, 100% with you.
That would have been the easy way for Indy. Indy has decided to go for a hard way. This is actually a bit risky, by the way, because obviously the airships cannot recall with the rest of the army. So Indy is going to get on top of this base and he will absolutely kill it. Is he then going to try to recall home? Are we going to get a good old-fashioned base trade here, Wardy? I think we're base trading. I think we're full sending it.
It looks like we're going to dive in. We need to right-click that core. You do not want to waste time on anything else. The mortar going down, and now we need to not go for workers.
He's
though,
got money, though.
I mean,
look, Haluc is going to maybe build a couple recall, like shockers to get some big hits off, but it's just a little bit late. It is a little bit late. How much damage has he done on the other side of the map? He's working on it. It is just too late. It's Indy who takes the 3-1 lead.
cores are dying now, man. I mentioned cores hadn't really died too much, and I was just seeing cores die constantly.
I like the idea what Haluc did that towards the end. He was saving up a bit of money, and instead of like spamming 1 unit at a time, he's like, I'm just gonna try to get like 5 shockers at once and hope I get some devastating hits off. The only problem is that the army is right on top of it, right? And then shockers just die so quick as well. And Indy just started all of that a tiny bit quicker. Did more damage on the core. Maybe like if we first build like 1 or 2 mammoths just to be tanky, right, by time, and then we spend our remaining money on like 2-3 shockers, maybe that would have gone a tiny bit better for Haluc. I don't know if there was a way to win that base trade.
Nope, I don't know if there was. I think that might have just been a little bit tough. A little bit too tough through and through. As we get ready for game 5. Indeed, he dropped the first game, Rotti, but he has just been really convincing throughout the earlier mid games. Kind of ever since.
Yeah, there was a crucial call there, right, to give up on that 4th base, because that fight in the top left was not a good fight for the recallers. But Indy did a good job getting out of there, sacrificing it, and then he ran to the, across the center. I didn't think he was going to be able to that easily gun down the 3rd base of Haluc, but yeah, he managed to snipe it in time right before the units of Haluc showed up. And then it was just kind of a base for a base, but then it just overall looked a bit better for Indy. Because he was being able to get more value out of those bases and just had a bigger army, had a slightly better economy. Fun stuff, a fun series so far. Let's see what game 5 brings. As Haluc says, all right, recall is pretty good. I'm going to play them too.
Yeah, he's going to go recall and recall hunters. Also recall shockers, behemoths mixed in there, and destroyers. Wow, complete switch of the deck across the board. Indy is going to have himself mammoths now also, so he's going to have mammoths which probably aren't going to get much play if destroyers are available from his opponent. But he might not need to play into the air at all anymore. Looking at what Haluc has, I don't think air is going to be as much of a threat at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we have dragonflies. I see some dragonflies, but I'm kind of worried for Haluc, because if he doesn't play air, I think he kind of has to play air, because if he doesn't play air, he's just going to lose against mortars again. I mean, recall shockers are incredibly freaking slow. And I just don't see how he beats mortars if he doesn't play air.
I guess that's true. I guess if you go mortars, you have to play air and play mammoths.
Yeah. Let's just see. We're going to base trade a little bit here. I kind of like the idea of just buying some time. You really don't want to donate any of your recallers, though. They are strong tier 1. He loses one of them, but they are expensive. We gotta be teching area. I feel like if we go ground, we are almost... Oh, he goes ground.
Oh, he goes ground. I think he does. Honestly, fast third base with recalls against a mortar push is so difficult to hold. Because the recalls have no way to fight mortars, right? Like, how do you ever get a recall unit in range of a mortar without just being blasted? So, this push from Indy is going to be very good, and I absolutely understand that he does not bother with the third base at all. He's just going to build purely mortars here, and he's just going to send it, and I think he's completely right to, because if they get in position, he's going to own that side of the map, and it's going to be very hard to just recover from that, so
no real
I don't
threat
like the route
of counterattacks either, because his opponent has mostly slow units. We don't have to worry about walls, we don't have to worry about gunbots or scorpions. He's going to have to disengage. I do like what Haluc is doing here, forcing Indy to siege away very far. He gets one more. They might even get a second one. He gets a third one too. He loses a lot of recallers. Hey, sniping 3 is pretty good. Maybe his dream is that Indy sieges up like very, very close and he snipes all of them. It's gonna be so hard. These are the scariest seconds. Here come the mortars of Indy.
Yeah, I mean, that was, don't get me wrong, absolutely brilliant start, but I think that's as good as it's going to get. You can see now he doesn't have the numbers, and so this third base will die. And, well, we build a whole bunch of recall shockers. I don't know how they trade against the mortars. I guess we're about to find out. The thing is, they're also very slow to fire. Like, they pack a punch, but once they've shot, they just stand around for a long time recharging.
I think he's just hoping that Indy is stubborn and sieges the mortars up right next to the base, but that doesn't quite happen. Here come all those recall shockers. A couple of big shots, but in the end, there are still so many mortars. And mortars reign supreme on the ground. I think that's a dub for Indy, Waddy.
I think so too. Those recall shockers really had to do something there. They had to at least break out of this, then you could have maybe still had a game on your hands. They just don't do good enough. They don't get rid of the mortars quickly enough, and that's going to be GG's. Indy showing up in this series, huh?
Fell 0-1 against his viewer, but turned it around and won 4-1 in the end. Some great recall plays there by Indy. Would have loved to maybe see Haluc go for those dragonflies here in the final game. If you saw how much time he bought initially with the recallers, that was very good recaller play at first. One point we made an adventurous dive. This was right before his tier 2 Foundry came online as well. Maybe if he would have just saved those units or even let that base die for a split second. Because the initial snipe on the 3 mortars on Indy's side of the map was fantastic. But well done Indy. That means that it's 1-1 between the challengers and the caster aces, Waddy.
Caster aces fighting back, Rotti.